Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. We're going to go over the Excellence in Action Awards and the Excellence in Technology Awards that have a deadline this Friday. So for this webinar today, we're going to go over some basic things about the Excellence in Action Awards. It is our newest awards program with a brand new submission form for each category this year. We'll go over who should enter, steps to submitting in the categories that we're offering, judging, the criteria, and we're going to walk through an application to just kind of make sure that all the parts of the application process make sense. And then we'll cover some benefits, and if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll answer those at the end of the presentation. Okay, and then these are the three awards programs we have open right now for submission. Like I said before, the Technology Awards and the Education Technology are both going to end with a deadline this Friday, September 12th. So if you have any questions or if you need anything from our team, feel free to email or put it in the chat now, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Those announcements are going to be December 4th. It's going to be an online webinar, and we have the registration link available on the website to register for that event. The Excellence in Action Awards is the application we're going to walk through today. That's our newest one, and it's different than our other programs in that it really focuses on the voice of the employee and companies that really pay attention to that and have outstanding initiatives and programs around employee voice. That one launched May 5th, and it's going to have a deadline of October 17th to submit. And those announcements are also going to happen in December of this year. Just a little bit of background about the Excellence in Action Awards. It's really going to be an award that shines the spotlight on organizations prioritizing the voices of their employees. You can submit whether you're a corporate company, solution provider, a small business. If you have an employee initiative, you're able to submit for this award program. You can find more details on our website page here, like the submission portal link, all of the categories, the descriptions, as well as our brochure that goes into a little bit more detail about each of the categories. So again, who should enter? Organizations of all sizes and industries that prioritize employee feedback can enter. Again, that deadline is going to be October 17th, so in just a couple of months here. And our announcements will be in December of this year. We will also recognize any winners of this award at our HCM Excellence Conference, February 9th through the 12th this year in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we're happy to send you more details about that conference as well. Okay, so steps to submitting for the Excellence in Action Awards. So the first step you're going to take is you go on our website page and you log into the submission portal. That's where you'll create your applicant profile as well as the password. You'll be able to log in and start as many applications as you'd like to submit. You'll click Add Application. You'll go ahead, fill out just some information like contact information, company details, things like that. And you'll be able to upload the submission form that we'll be going through in a little bit. And that's really what the judge panel is going to look at. So you want to spend the most time on that submission form itself, as well as some of the other materials like testimonials that you'll need to include. You'll be able to download the submission form right from our website. Again, each form is unique to the category that you're submitting under. And then once you go ahead and complete that, you'll be able to upload it in the portal. You'll upload your testimonial videos if you're going to provide testimonials that way, make payment, and you'll be all set to have your submission judged for this round of awards this year. So we have 18 different categories for Excellence in Action. Have them all listed out here. You can also find them in our brochure, which is linked here as well, with a little bit more of a description of each one so you know where to submit. Once you do decide which category or categories you want to submit under, you'll go ahead and start filling out that form with those questions and prompts specific to the category. And now we're just going to take a minute here to see if there's any categories that you'd like to see added to the Excellence in Action Awards going forward. So if you have any that you maybe didn't see on that list that you were considering wanting to submit for, that your team has really great initiatives for, we would love to hear about it, and maybe we're able to add that category in the future. All right, and then we'll give you a little bit more time on this question here to go ahead and input any responses that you have. Again, some of those categories that we have now available are wellness, company culture, employee engagement, DEI. So if you think that there's any other categories you would want added or could see potentially being good categories to submit for, you can go ahead and enter those now. All right, and I think we can go ahead and wrap up this question for now. If you think of any categories as we go through this presentation, you can also feel free to put those in the chat, and our team will make sure to record that input. Okay, and then we're just going to talk a little bit about our judging. So this is just some of the judges that participated in the awards this year in reviewing HCM applications. So we do have a panel of hundreds of judges from all over the globe, and they have to go through certain things to become a judge. They have to become certified, go through an interview process, have so many years of experience in the industry, as well as a high education background. And we do vet all that information before they're admitted to the panel. Those are the judges that look at all of our awards applications, and they have experience within the industry. So when you submit your application, they go through a round of external judging as well as internal, and that's how we come to the scores of the applications, which I'll get into in a little bit here, specific to the Excellence in Action Awards. So for Excellence in Action, we have 5 main criteria that are going to be scored. Each are going to be worth 6 points with a total of 30. So if you want to score a gold award, you're going to need to score about 28 to 30 of those points. Silver is going to be 25 to 27. Bronze would be 22 to 24, and non-winning would be anything below that. So you do want to make sure that you really put a lot of effort into each of these 5 categories, criteria for each category. So the first criteria you'll see is initiatives, and that will be specific to the category in the form. So for example, today we're going to go over the wellness category. So those initiatives will give you some prompts to choose from, about 10. You can choose some of those. You can use some of your own if you have strong information that you'd like to provide with different initiatives than what we've supplied. You can do that as well. But again, you want to make sure you provide details and specifics so that the judges can really see what initiatives your organization is offering to employees. The second criteria is going to be measurable impact. And that's where you're able to provide details on the measurable impact of your project, of your initiatives, and business objectives. And you can provide up to 400 words. If you do need to go a little bit above that or a little bit below, that is all right too. Just do try to stay within those constraints and be as concise as possible so that our panel can really see that measurable impact. The third criteria is going to be key metrics, and that's where you can provide metrics from up to the past 12 months or longer. We have about 5 or 6 different prompts within the key metrics specific to each category, which you'll see in just a minute here when we do go through that for the example wellness category. The fourth criteria is very important. That's where you can provide testimonials. You can provide up to 2 to 3 testimonials, whether those be written or video. It's up to you how you want to combine those. If you want to do all video, all written, or a mixture of the two, that's fine. If you do video, they'll need to be between 60 to 90 seconds in length, and you'll upload those in an MP4 format. If they're written, you'll have a section in the application where you can actually go ahead and enter that right there. Those are also really important because that's where the judge panel can see the actual voices of the employees and hear them and really be able to see that expression in the application. And then our fifth criteria is going to be the organizational impact stories. So this is going to be specific examples of how these initiatives and your projects and your programs have affected the organization through the employees. So that's where you'll take that organizational perspective with those stories. And again, we suggest about 400 words or less. You can also respond to this in a video if you'd like to. And typically, if you respond to the organizational impact in a video, you'll want to have it from the voice of someone maybe in leadership or higher up in the organization. Okay, and then again, here's that scoring breakdown of what different award levels, how many points you'll need to earn. We do have 1/6 section of the application that is not one of the 5 criteria that's scored. However, it can help enhance your application and add to your submission. It's the awards and recognition section. So if you've earned any awards or recognition for your initiatives that you're submitting for in the past, you can go ahead and enter those right there within the submission form. And again, I'll show you what that looks like in just a little bit here. So for each of those criteria that are scored out of 6 points, it's going to be on a scale from exceptionally weak to extraordinary. And between these 6 different areas, that's how we'll decide the score per criteria, and then that'll determine the ultimate score of your application. Okay, so to get started on the application, the first 2 fields you need to fill out are basic information fields. So company name, the year it was founded, industry, so maybe it's software, technology, whatever that industry may be, you'll want to enter that there. The number of employees, the primary headquarters location, and then a link to the company's website page. Contact information, you'll be able to enter that here. And then when you go into the application itself, where you'll upload this form once it's complete, you'll be able to enter contact information as well, and you can upload up to 3 or 4 contacts in our portal. Okay, now the first criteria, again, we're going to use the wellness category as the example for today. So we'll provide you with initiatives. So we provide you about 10, and you can go into detail about however many of those you'd like. You can pick and choose, or you can supply your own examples. So for example, if you wanted to choose health programs, maybe you could talk about what different types of health programs your organization has for employees. Maybe there's a mental health support area, maybe there's fitness initiatives. Whichever areas you find that you have the most detail and you have the most support, that's what you'll want to go ahead and describe in this section here. The second criteria is going to be measurable impact. In the measurable impact section, that's where you can provide details on that above those initiatives that you talked about in that first criteria. You can actually measure that and be able to elaborate more in depth here. You can talk about company cultures, the process, and how it's affected your employees, business initiatives, business objectives. So for example, maybe if you have a physical wellness initiative and it's showed great adoption rates, maybe employees have really taken an interest in it and wanted to participate, and you're able to measure that, you could supply that in the application section here. Okay, and then key metrics, that's going to be a very important section. So if you've submitted in any of our other awards programs, we have a measurable results section, and this is very similar to that, where you'll really provide kind of the statistics as percentages that you're able to back things up with. So for key metrics for the wellness category, for example, healthcare cost trends. So say maybe you have some mental health workshops, or you have other initiatives that you've been able to put in. Have healthcare costs for that for your employees decreased? Have they increased? You'll be able to show things like that there. The satisfaction of the initiatives, you can provide those percentages as well. And if you do need any types of surveys or anything, we do have them per category. So you can always reach out to our team, and we are happy to provide you with a survey that you can actually give to your employees if you want to be able to collect a few more results for any of these categories for the key metrics section. If you have any metrics that we haven't listed here that you want to provide that you think are going to really strengthen your application, you can feel free to enter those in the other metrics section. And again, if you have any specific questions as you go through the application, you can feel free to reach out to our team. If you have any questions for today, you can go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those at the end. Okay, and then onto that employee testimonial section. So again, you can provide video, written, or both for this section. If you do written, this is where you'll enter it in the application form, which you'll see when you download that submission form. You'll be able to enter about 150 to 250 words. And if you do the video testimonials, again, you can do 2 to 3, and we ask that those be between 60 and 90 seconds in length. If you're an organization that's outside of the US and the native language of the employees is not English, you can submit it in that other language, but we do ask that you provide a translation in English, and you have either subtitles or captions that are in English as well, so that our judge panel can fairly evaluate your application. And again, this section is important because it's really where the panel is able to hear the voices and see the voices of the employees themselves. Okay, and then the 5th criteria, the organizational impact. So this is where you can share specific examples of how your program or project has positively impacted your organization. Again, you can supply that written with 400 words or less, or you can do a video of 60 to 90 seconds. And this is where you're going to focus on how the organization was impacted by all of these different initiatives that you've been able to input, by all the information and statistics that you've been able to back up with those key metrics. This is how you can really talk about how it's affected the organization as a whole. Okay, and then the optional criteria at the end is going to be that awards and recognition section. If you've received awards or any recognition in the past, we ask that you provide that here, and that can only help your application. We don't deduct any points if you need to leave that area blank. That is fine as well, but if you do have them, it's always great to be able to supply those in this section here. Okay, and then we have one other question for today. What sections of the application do you have the most questions about? And you can choose as many as you'd like to. This will help us with future webinars going through this so that we're able to talk about those application sections that might be a bit trickier or might stump you so that we can help you have the best chance when you submit your application. Okay, and then again, it's criteria 1 is going to be initiatives. That'll be specific to the category. Criteria 2 will cover measurable impact. Criteria 3 will cover key metrics. Criteria 4 will cover the testimonials, whether those be video or written. And criteria 5 is going to cover the organizational impact stories. All right. And then we'll move on from that question now. Okay, and then listed out here, we just have some of the benefits for participating. So you can always receive feedback on your applications, whether you're an award winner or you are a non-winning application. You can always ask our team. You can email awards@brandonhall.com, and we are happy to provide that feedback. Typically, it will take about a week or two to get back to you, but it is very helpful not only with your application to be able to submit the following year, but for your program itself to be able to see, what the judges saw when they reviewed your application. Recognition of that achievement. You're able to benchmark against industry leaders. There's networking and exposure. So when we do our webinar announcements, those are recorded. We do announce all of those winners, and there's a lot of participants in attendance for those webinars. We will also recognize you at the gala at our conference. And again, that's going to be February 9th through 12th this year in West Palm Beach, Florida. You'll receive a digital certificate, a digital badge. You can order plaques for the awards that you've won. We do social media posting. And if you do a press release and send it to us, we're happy to repost that to our blog site as well. And again, these are just some of the other benefits that we have. One I didn't mention was the podcast opportunity. So all of our award winners do have an opportunity to do a podcast with our COO, Rachel Cook, just talking about whether it's your program or if it's an initiative, whatever award you may have submitted for. We actually do that for all of our awards programs across the board. Okay, and then at this time, I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions that might be in the chat, or if you have any questions now, you can feel free to ask those. All right, doesn't look like there's any questions specific to Excellence in Action at this time. I also did just want to talk a little bit about our technology awards since that deadline is going to be this Friday. I did go in depth into an example application last week in the webinar that we hosted, but I'm happy to kind of talk about that a little bit too. So some of those really important sections with the technology application that you would want to spend a lot of time on are going to be the measurable results section, as well as the demo section. So the demo section is really where you're able to provide a video kind of giving the judge panel an insight into the technology solution you're submitting. So really how it works, how users their experience when they use it, how they actually are able to use that technology. And you can really walk through and show the panel firsthand what that looks like. Sometimes organizations will allow judges to log in and be able to kind of go through that. That's also very helpful so they can get that firsthand view of the technology solution. You can also provide screenshots and graphics if the video is not an option for you to be able to submit. You can put those right there within your application. If you have a lot of graphics that you want to include, you can also provide an appendix at the end of an application and refer to it throughout your narrative as you're writing all that content and filling in each of those sections in your application form. The measurable results section is really important because that's where the judge panel is really able to see, the impact of that technology, how effective it is. And it really just, it helps if you have strong results over a good period of time. All right, and again, doesn't look like we have any questions for now about the technology awards or excellence in action, but the technology deadline will be this Friday, September 12th. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to reach out to me or awards@brandonhall.com, and our team will be happy to answer any questions you may have. If you have any questions about payment, the application itself, we're also happy to answer any of those. I'll also include my meeting link so that you're able to schedule meetings with me. If you go ahead and look at my LinkedIn, I'll make sure to provide it on there as well so that you can always go ahead and schedule a meeting and we can go talk about your application and make sure you feel like you have a strong chance of submitting and winning an award. All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this webinar since we don't have any questions for today. Again, thank you. My email, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat in case you have any questions you'd specifically like to email to me. You can also email awards@brandonhall.com, and that will go to our entire awards team. But again, thank you for joining me today, and I wish you the best of luck. We're really excited to seeing your submissions this year.